Hello, Internet denizens. Well, today is Hackintosh Day, and I'm going to be talking about the state of the Hackintosh here at the beginning of 2018. Stay tuned. Oh my God, who is that? So some of you might want to know how I got into this Hackintoshing thing. Well, my gateway drug was actually trying to get my Mac Pro 1.1 to work with El Capitan, because that vintage of Mac stopped working with Snow Leopard, and that was very frustrating because it was a very powerful computer, and the Apple OS was progressing, and I was losing out on all sorts of new updates and things like that. But Piker Alpha, I read about Piker Alpha, and following the instructions, I was able to hack the system on the Mac Pro 1.1, and it allowed me to run El Capitan on the machine, which was brilliant. So that gave me another 4 years out of that computer. So that was my gateway drug to Hackintoshing. Once I did the Piker Alpha upgrade on my Mac Pro, well, it was not that far from trying my hand at Hackintoshing. And I wouldn't have Hackintoshed at all if Apple had machines that suited my technical requirements at the time. So what is the state of Hackintoshing here at the beginning of 2018? You can divide it up into the hardware side of things and the software side of things. Obviously, High Sierra is now out, and it's been out enough now that it's not so difficult to Hackintosh High Sierra. All the tools, all the software has now caught up to do that, and that's pretty cool. For me personally, I'm still running Sierra because I'm doing a lot of work. I find it very stable, and there's really nothing in High Sierra for me that makes it attractive. But I have done some High Sierra installs, and they've gone fairly easily now. So as in anything, when the new OS comes out, it's crazy, and then as time goes on, we figure it out. I don't figure it out. I'm saying we, like as a sports, my team, the Toronto Maple Leafs, they're my team. We win the Stanley Cup. At least I wish we would. But that's not the point here. The really smart people out there who really do the work, and thank you very much. I bow down to your genius. They're the ones who have figured this out. So, you can take your pick. Sierra, High Sierra, that's all working. Now, on the hardware side, you've got the Kaby Lake 7th generation Intel chips to play with. You've got the 8th generation Coffee Lake that are now coming on stream. And then, of course, you can go crazy with the i9 and the X299 motherboards. So let's take a look at how the three different hardware platforms compare, especially in regards to price. So right now, the most compatible, as far as I'm concerned, are the Kaby Lake 7th generation Intel processors. So here we have what we consider a top-of-the-line build in this arena. Obviously, you can add more memory and more hard drives, things like that, but this is an ATX build. It comes out to $2,387 US. So this is very compatible, works great with Sierra and High Sierra, and you will have the least amount of grief. The next up, let's say you want to go for the 6-core, 12-thread Coffee Lake, which does give you some pretty good oomph depending on what it is that you want to do. So this is an 8th generation build. All I've done with this compared to the 7th generation is swap out the motherboard and the CPU, and the total here comes to $2,517. So $200 and change, more. That's really not bad for, many of you out there. Maybe the 6-core 12-thread is going to offer you way more power. For me, on the Final Cut Pro side, yeah, it would give me some extra oomph, but, I've already built it. It's not worth for me to scrap what I've what I've got right now just to get this incremental upgrade. Now, again, there are other 8th generation CPUs, some really amazing i5s, actually, to tell you the truth. If I was going to build an i5 based computer, I probably would do it in the Coffee Lake vein, because the i5 on the 7th generation doesn't hold a candle to, you know, what's happening here. Now, let's talk about the iMac Pro. And what can the Hackintosh community do to duplicate that experience? Well, there's good and bad news. You know, the good news is, with the advent of the iMac Pro, people have, you know, deconstructed or sucked out of it all different little kexts and files that now make building an X299 version-ish of the iMac Pro, because the X299 aren't Xeons, whereas the iMac Pro are. And I don't really want to get into a big flame war down there in the comments that these are completely disparately different platforms. But you know what? What I'm counting is, you know, you've got 18 core, 36 threads, and 18 core 36 threads on the X299 motherboard. Now, the 299 motherboard is fraught with controversy because Intel brought it out in a panic as a response to AMD's Threadripper. And no, I'm not going to be building a Threadripper Hackintosh, so don't even talk about that. But I got some AMD news a little bit later on in my little presentation here. So how do things compare on the on that side? So again, these are not you know, the same on multiple levels. The X299 does not use ECC memory, but okay, forget about that. You can build a very, very fast machine that compares favorably with the iMac Pro. If I go to the Apple Store here, and I've quickly just modded up, you know, a simple version, not fully tricked out with 4 terabyte you know, SSD or anything like that. But here's the 18-core Xeon, 32 gig of RAM, 1 terabyte SSD, and that came to $7,400. So I then spec'd out an i9 X299 version of this with a liquid cooler, which means that we're going to be able to run this all the time, you know, at a very higher speed and a consistent rate than the iMac Pro can. You know, motherboard, 32 gig of RAM, and here we have the Vega card. Now, with the total, I mean, you can see there's no pricing here because I think they're being used for mining purposes, and PC Part Picker wouldn't even include a price for this. But I know what the price is going to be, and I'll just show you in just a second. We've got a Corsair 1200 watt platinum power supply, and it comes to $4,000, but we need to add the Sapphire Radeon card, and that, you know, I just brought it up here on Newegg, and it's $1,000. So that's $5,000 for a comparable machine. So it's $2,000 and change less than what Apple is giving you. They're not the same. You know, one's a server grade, you know, chip-based system, and this is an X299 system, but the performance is insane. And based on a video I just recently saw, the 18-core iMac Pro had a Geekbench score of 49,000 and change. That is a very, very powerful and fast little machine. However, this machine here, this Skylake X299, came to 63,000. So what did I say? 49,000 for the iMac Pro, 63,000 for what in theory is a standard machine because it's not using Xeon parts. But I mean, once you get up to the 18 core chips, the variations are, you know, binning and things like that. I don't know how Intel decides what's going to be Xeon. I guess they stress test it for a couple of days, or, you know, get it drunk and see whether it can still, you know, walk the line or something like that. I don't know what Intel's, you know, testing for Xeon is. But again, if you are willing to put up with the nonsense of building a computer like this, this is significantly faster. But let's take a look at the build requirements and instructions for this X299 Hackintosh. I'm never going to build one of these. Number one, I'm not going to, you know, select all the parts. I don't think I have the patience to go through all those instructions. That is not an easy build. I read through everything. There's, people are having a lot of successes, but they have to go through an awful lot of pain to get there. If you need this kind of performance, maybe you're just better off getting the iMac Pro. One of the things that I'm really excited about this year is that I'm going to try my first Ryzen build, but just not any old Ryzen. I'm going to be waiting for that brand new combo chip where they're taking a 1500 Ryzen and glomming it together with some Vega bits and pieces. So you get a really good graphics experience, a good GPU along with a CPU, all on one very inexpensive piece of silicon. So that I'm really excited about. Now, Intel is also doing that. They're combining, their chip along with Vega components to create their combo setup. So that's going to be very, very interesting. I think this is really going to be a crappy year for, GPU-based computers because nobody can afford them. All the GPUs are being sold for mining purposes, for, creating blockchain hashes. And I don't think there's going to be any slowdown on that. In fact, I think that's only going to accelerate. So where are we going to get the GPUs for our computers? Well, either we pay a premium for them, or we hope that the blockchain mining craze crashes and the market gets flooded with cheap versions of GPUs, which are generally burned out by the time we get them anyway. So, for instance, my RX 580 that I got for $350 retail. But if you go on to Newegg, it's $700. That's insane. So this is going to be a very interesting year, and the timing of these combo CPU with really decent graphics cards all on one piece of silicon, I think the majority of computers that people are going to be building out there are going to be of that flavor. So I'm going to be building one using an AMD setup, and very, very excited about that. So that is the state of things, this year. So that's what I'm predicting, is that Apple will be relying a lot on these Intel and AMD combo units. So it will be a good year for Hackintoshing. Thank you very much for listening. I'm not going to ask you to subscribe because you know what? I find that very tawdry. I really don't like it when vloggers beg for subscriptions. I'm not going to do it. So please enjoy yourselves. Go get a dinner, get something to drink, and I'm not going to ask about subscribing. So thank you very much for listening, denizens of the internet. Till next time, see you.